Part 39. The fake daughter can be either salty or sweet. Author, Wu Zizai. Chapter 381. Chapter 381. The Old Man. Suddenly, a picture flashed into Yang Zizi's mind. It is the little messenger. He seems to be being attacked by a demon with two goat's horns. Yang Zizi was so anxious that he dropped what he was holding and quickly prepared to save his son. Lun Zhenji also quickly arranged for Xiao Tiantian and followed Yang Zizi's footsteps, because he had also seen that scene, and at the same time he was particularly worried. But when they walked to the gate of the vampire clan, they saw their brothers standing in front of the castle gate, as if they were welcoming some kind of person. Yang Zizi and Lun Zhenji stopped and followed their brother's gaze. I saw a huge wolf slowly walking towards the side, and on the wolf's back was an envoy sitting majestically. Yang Zizi was surprised. She looked into the wolf's eyes, which were deep and familiar. She remembered it. It's 11 Jin, yes, it's him. It was 11 Jin who saved the little envoy. How should she repay so many feelings? Yang Zizi suddenly glanced at her brothers with some worry, thinking that they would treat 11 Jin as an enemy and prepare to attack, but she realized that they were not. On the contrary, they seemed to be welcoming some guests, very polite, and not at all not aggressive. 11 Jin walked up to Yang Zizi and looked at her deeply, as if his feelings for her had never changed. Yang Zizi suddenly felt very guilty, she seemed a little sorry for him. But there is no way, no one can satisfy both parties in emotional matters. Lun Zhenji immediately moved closer to Yang Zizi, pressed against her body, grabbed her hand, and intertwined their fingers with an expression of demonstration to 11 Jin. Yang Zizi looked at Lun Zhenji's expression and couldn't help but laugh. They were already an old married couple, and yet they were so jealous. Everyone in the world knew that she, Yang Zizi, belonged to Lun Zhenji. Who would dare to compete with him? Even if you can't even grab it? Ghost Xiaogu gently took the envoy off 11 Jin's back, and bowed deeply to 11 Jin to express his gratitude to him. As for his parents, they actually stood there without any expression at all, leaving it up to them as uncles to express their gratitude. 11 Jin kept looking at Yang Zizi, never leaving her figure. Yang Zizi walked over and touched his furry back. Gui Xiaogu tried to pull her back but to no avail, so he could only feel anxious. His daughter-in-law will get very angry no matter what if she touches another boy in front of her. 11 Jin seems to have something to say to me alone. Can you please avoid me? Yang Zizi asked. Although Yang Zizi's feelings for 11 Jin are not between men and women, at least they can definitely be regarded as fatal friends now. 11 Jin helped her a lot during the most painful and difficult period of her life, he stayed by her side, encouraging and warming her. He clearly knew that Yang Zizi did not love him, and could not even fall in love with him because of his kindness, but he still took care of her without asking for anything in return, just because he loved her and wanted her to be happy. After the others left, only Yang Zizi and 11 Jin were left in the place. If you have something to say to me, then you can turn into a human form. Yang Zizi stood beside him and said softly. 11 Jin seemed to hesitate for a while, and finally turned into a human form. When he looked at Yang Zizi, his whole body was filled with excitement. Thank you for saving the envoy. Yang Zizi thanked him gratefully. End of this chapter. The fake daughter can be either salty or sweet. Author, Wu Zizai. Chapter 382. Chapter 382. Reminiscing about the past. But this sentence was not what 11 Jin wanted. He felt that Yang Zizi's words of thanks to him would only widen the distance between them time and time again. Both of them were silent. It seemed that there were many things they wanted to say, but when they actually met, they couldn't say a word. It was as if something was stuck in his throat that made him unable to speak. You didn't go back to the wolf clan, why did you go to the human world? Yang Zizi was the first to break the silence. I just happened to be passing by. 11 Jin finally spoke. His voice seemed a little hoarse, and his appearance looked a little vicissitudes. His previous majesty seemed to have weakened a lot. "How are you? How have you been these past few hundred years?" Yang Zizi suddenly asked with a smile. It could be regarded as an old friend reminiscing. 11 Jin looked at Yang Zizi and seemed to fall into silence again. There were many things he wanted to say to her on the road, but now he couldn't say a word. "I miss you so much." 11 Jin suddenly said this after being silent for a long time, but this was also what he was thinking. Yang Zizi was stunned. She was really sorry. "If you miss me as a friend, then I miss you too," Yang Zizi said with a smile. 11 Jin suddenly lowered his head and laughed, as if he was laughing at himself. It seems like he shouldn't have said this. "I'm sorry," 11 Jin apologized. "I am the one who should say sorry." Yang Zizi felt really sorry for him. 11 Jin shook his head and said, "I should thank you for letting me understand what love is and how to love others." In the past, he was always focused on himself. Although he had an older brother, he never shared any of his joys and experiences with him. Lun Chenchi was really anxious like an ant on a hot pot. Of course he was not afraid that his wife would run away with a wolf, but he didn't like his wife to be alone with a stranger for so long. Although he said he saved his own son. "Dad, don't worry, brother 11 Jin brought me up single-handedly, and he is also mommy's best friend." The envoy seemed to notice Lun Chenchi's anxious mood and said, "That wolf raised you?" Lun Chenchi was surprised. Why Yang Zizi never mentioned it to him? "Yes, mommy gave birth to me, and then she asked brother Zijin to take care of me, and then she went to the vampire clan alone. Just then, she encountered demons invading the vampire clan. Finally, she killed you under the instigation of Aunt Gui Kale. The misunderstanding was resolved. After that, she went to look for you for 100 years, but she didn't wait until a demon uncle finally saved you." The messenger said that although he was not involved in many things, he could convey her memory to himself through Yang Zizi. "So, brother Zijin has been with you and mommy all this time?" Lun Chenchi asked, feeling very guilty in his heart. The envoy nodded heavily. He was a very emotional guy, and he was particularly fond of brother Zijin. Lun Chenchi was no longer worried, but felt guilty and grateful to 11 Jin. Yang Zizi and 11 Jin chatted a lot about their experiences over the years. During this long chat, they seemed to have become very good friends, and 11 Jin seemed to be relieved. Emotions that cannot be obtained will not bear fruit after all. Caring for each other as friends is not a bad ending. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The fake daughter can be either salty or sweet. Author, Wu Zizai. Chapter 383. Chapter 383. Have you finished talking? After the chat ended, Yang Zizi asked, "Would you like to live in the vampire clan for a few days and see the little envoy? After all, you brought him up." 11 Jin smiled, shook his head, and said, "No, I should listen to you and return to the wolf tribe. The tribe still needs me." Yang Zizi couldn't keep him anymore. He had not returned to the wolf clan for almost hundreds of years for his own sake. As the ruler of the wolf clan, this was an extremely irresponsible behavior. 11 Jin suddenly seemed to have thought of something and said, "By the way, the little envoy was attacked by a demon and needs special attention recently." Although the little envoy can be absolutely safe in the vampire clan because he has so many uncles to protect him, he also needs to pay special attention to it. With a god of war father and an angel mother, he still needs to stay. Thinking of this, 11 Jin couldn't help but feel a little sad. In the past, envoys had to do everything themselves. Now, it seems like nothing is needed. "Well, don't worry," Yang Zizi nodded. It was not true that she was not worried at all. After all, if the demons really wanted to continue hunting angels, they would have to be well prepared. But logically speaking, the master of the demon is Muchinai now, so it is impossible for him to attack them. If he really wanted to get rid of the angel completely, then it would be impossible for him to stand here chatting with 11 jinn now, let alone give birth to a pair of lovely children with Lunchenchi. If you need me, please contact me at any time. I think maybe the Wolf Clan and the Blood Clan can become good partners, 11 jinn said with a smile. In the past, the Wolf Clan and the Blood Clan had always adhered to the principle of non-aggression. You can't enter anyone's territory, otherwise a fight will start. But 11 jinn never expected that as the ruler of the Wolf tribe, he would be willing to ally with the Blood tribe for the sake of a woman. Thank you. Yang Zizi was really grateful to 11 jinn. He had paid so much for her. She didn't know how to thank him. She could only swear in her heart that if anything happens to the Wolf Clan in the future, difficulties, their vampires will definitely help. Suddenly, a little guy suddenly appeared between the two people, raising his head and looking at them. Looks like he's here to supervise the work. Brother, mommy, have you finished talking? The little messenger asked cutely. What's the matter, so anxious? Yang Zizi picked up the little boy. The child had grown up and gained a lot of weight. Naturally, the envoy was sent by Lunchenchi to investigate the situation. The jealous boss of their family, the god of war, became all kinds of uneasy and all kinds of imaginative thinking when he saw his daughter-in-law with other boys. Also looking for someone to go over and cause trouble with. Just found it on his son's Ayashi. 11 jinn naturally took the little envoy from Yang Zizi's arms. The boy was really much heavier than before. Have you missed your brother 11 jinn for so many years? 11 jinn teased him. He really envied Lunchenchi for having such a lovely son. If he continued to raise him, he would definitely do it without any hesitation. Of course I have, but it's useless just to think about it. You have to take time to see me. The envoy looked like a brat, as if 11 jinn had made some mistake and didn't come to see him. Little envoy, you should go and see brother 11 jinn. Yang Zizi corrected the envoy in a dumbfounded voice. This little guy likes to say sarcastic things. End of this chapter. The fake daughter can be either salty or sweet. Author, Wu Zizai. Chapter 384. Chapter 384, Clarify the situation before going to war. I can't enter the Wolf Clan, but the door to the Blood Clan will always be open for Brother Zijin. Brother Zijin can come to the Blood Clan at any time and tell me my name. No one dares to stop you. The little envoy patted his chest and said plausibly. As if he were the boss of the vampire clan. If Ghost Xiaogu heard this, he would have to chase him for several streets. 11 jinn smiled and pinched the little envoy's face, feeling very happy. As expected of being brought up by myself. Okay, if Brother Zijin misses me, please come and see me. If you miss me, you can go to the Wolf Clan to find me at any time and tell me my name. Zijin imitated the tone and movements of the envoy. Respond to him. The big one and the small one laughed very happily. The two of them chatted for a long time. 11 jinn put down the envoy and finally said he was leaving. He was afraid that he would never leave, and had an urge to stay. After 11 jinn left, Lunchenchi ran out immediately. Don't look, 11 jinn has left. Yang Zizi pulled Lunchenchi, who was looking into the distance. This guy is still wary of others. Hearing Yang Zizi's words, Lunchenchi felt relieved. This guy probably won't come next time, Lunchenchi said, hugging Yang Zizi's slim waist. What are you talking about? He is your son's savior and the benefactor who raised your son single-handedly. Yang Zizi was very dissatisfied with Lunchenchi's attitude. I was wrong, wife, please don't be angry, okay, Lunchenchi coaxed Yang Zizi gently. Be nice to 11 jinn from now on, he is our family's benefactor. Okay, listen to my wife in everything. Lunchenchi was obedient to Yang Zizi, but he didn't rule out being wary of him when he came again. After all, he had liked his wife several times. 100 years. Suddenly, Yang Zizi saw his brothers discussing how to deal with the devil. After all, this time the demon suddenly attacked the little angel, which really made the brothers angry. Since the attack had already been launched, they naturally had to stand up and fight. But in Yang Zizi's view, this battle is very unfriendly to both sides, and may even lead to a situation where both sides will lose or the vampires will be defeated. Brothers, it is too risky to start a war so hastily. Yang Zizi wanted to avoid this war as much as possible. She doesn't want her children to experience battlefields at a young age. This society is a peaceful society now, and humans can live in peace, so why can't they? If we don't do this, both you and the little angel Xiao Tiantian will be in danger. The brothers were very worried about this and were willing to challenge the devil to protect their sister. Let's figure out the situation first. If it is really the god of hell who insists on getting rid of the angels, then I will definitely stand up and protect my children, Yang Zizi said firmly. She remembered clearly what Mu Chenai once said to her. He would never hurt her, let alone any angel in the world. He believes that he will not deceive himself. The brothers looked at Yang Zizi and wanted to hear her opinion. I know the god of hell, and we can be considered friends. I will confirm with him whether he really wants to kill all the angels. If it is true, I will fight side by side with my brothers, Yang Zizi said firmly. Okay, just listen to my sister, Goiziogo said. He had no other choice. Of course, it would be best not to start a war. End of this chapter. The fake daughter can be either salty or sweet. Author, Wu Zizai. Chapter 385. Chapter 385 wants to start a war. Early the next morning, Yang Zizi went to find Mu Chenai alone. Lun Chenchi was worried and insisted on following him, but in the end he was stopped by Yang Zizi. Don't worry, he won't hurt me. If I'm really in any danger, I will convey the memory of that time to you. It won't be too late for you to come over then, Yang Zizi said, but he always believed in the curtain. It was absolutely impossible for Shenyi to hurt her. She was just looking for him to find out if he really wanted to kill the angel again. Lun Chenchi couldn't resist Yang Zizi, so he agreed to wait where he was. But when Yang Zizi left, Lun Chenchi was still worried. Yang Zizi came to an empty plain and called out Mu Shenai. Shenyi walked over slowly from a distance. He looked a lot older, and the upright horns on his head couldn't make him look energetic. Why, you clearly said you would never hurt the angel again, Yang Zizi asked him face to face. Although he saved Lun Chenchi, he later wanted to kill the angel again, and he could not forgive him. The envoy is the child she wants to protect with all her life. If anyone dares to touch him even a little bit, she will definitely make him pay the price with his life. Zizi, what are you talking about? I don't understand. Mu Chenai looked confused. Mu Chenai was originally very happy to see Yang Zizi again, but he didn't expect that she would treat him like this the first time he saw her. Questioning tone. Yang Zizi was stunned for a moment. Mu Chenai is not a person who can pretend to be stupid. Isn't it him? A few days ago, a demon tried to kill my son. Fortunately, 11 Jinn saved him in time. Otherwise, the current 18th level of would have been reduced to rubble by me. He simply couldn't imagine it without 11 Jinn's envoy. She felt extremely scared just thinking about what the outcome would be. What did you say? There is a demon attacking you, Mu Chenai. I knew nothing about this matter. Even now, he doesn't know what is going on. If Yang Zizi hadn't told him, he probably wouldn't have known anything about it in his life. You will know. You really don't know? Yang Zizi asked doubtfully. If I knew, I wouldn't be able to waste words with you here, Mu Chenai said anxiously. Could it be that my father or others knew something, or that they had discovered that angels were beginning to exist in this world? After all, Mu Chenai is just the of in the 18th level of hell. He cannot govern the last level because it is his father's territory. He has no right to interfere with any decision made by his father, nor can he rule all the demons on the next level. It seems you really don't know. Of course Yang Zizi believed him, because Mu Chenai was a person who couldn't lie and didn't bother to lie, so there was no need for him to insist on denying it. What's going on? Mu Chenai looked solemn. He was very worried that his father would know everything. By then, no one would be able to guarantee their safety. However, if you think about it, you can understand that it was only a matter of time before the father found out, and the decision he made was inevitable forever. Yang Zizi told Mu Shenai in detail the scene when the envoy was attacked. It seems that it should be someone sent by my father, Mu Shenai guessed, but he was actually very sure of his guess. Since your father already knows, the war between demons and vampires is inevitable, Yang Zizi said coldly. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The fake daughter can be either salty or sweet. Author, Wu Zizai. Chapter 386. Chapter 386. I don't want to be your enemy. Since it is unavoidable, she can only choose to accept it. Anyway, she will definitely protect her children and the descendants of angels, so that the angel clan can gradually restore its former glory. No, Zizi, we can't start a war. Did you know? Mu Chenai was worried and wanted to stop Yang Zizi. This was a war that he had to start even though he knew the outcome. Before Mu Chenai could finish speaking, Yang Zizi interrupted him directly and said, "Of course I know. What you want to say is that our vampire clan will definitely lose, right? You underestimate us too much and don't try anything. How can we know the outcome? Anyway, we are at a disadvantage whether we start a war or not, so why not fight tooth and nail to protect the people we want to protect," Yang Zizi said with a smile. At the end of the scene, Shen Yi looked at Yang Zizi and was speechless for a moment. He is afraid, more afraid than ever before. If a war really breaks out, which side should he be on? With his biological father on one side and the woman he loves most deeply on the other, he really couldn't make a decision that wouldn't hurt both parties. Zizi, Mu Shenai was in a dilemma. You don't need to do anything. No matter what happens, you won't do anything because it's not worth it. However, if you want to join your father, I won't blame you. After all, you have the right to choose. Don't feel like you owe me anything. You don't owe me anything. Instead, I want to thank you for saving the man I love most, the father of my children. At the end of the scene, Shen Yi felt very sad. He admitted that although he had never looked down upon the war of the Blood Clan, as Yang Zizi's husband, he was indeed sad and envious. You clearly know that I can't do it. He couldn't sit back and ignore what happened to Yang Zizi. He couldn't watch the woman he loved most being killed by his own tribe. Mu Shenai, please wake up. We are enemies now and we will be enemies in the future. We can only be enemies, Yang Zizi said. Mu Shenyi is a good friend who is worthy of deep friendship, but because the two people are really opposites in their identities, they cannot become friends and are destined to become enemies. I don't want to be your enemy. It doesn't matter if you can't be the person in his heart, and it doesn't matter if you can't be a good friend with her, but they can't be enemies. Yang Zizi looked at Mu Shenai, a little surprised. Is he praying? The majestic god of hell would actually show such an expression and say such words. Sure enough, love, regardless of status, is ultimately a poison that makes people lose completely. We don't have a choice. She doesn't want to become an enemy with anyone, and sometimes she is forced to do so. Not far away, Lun Chenqi was hiding behind a thick tree. What are you talking about? Why haven't you finished talking after so long? At the end of the scene, the boy Shenyi looked very painful. Could it be that he was confessing to his wife and was rejected? Looking at Yang Zizi, he looked determined, as if he had determined that something could not be changed. Dad, You haven't finished reading yet. I already told you that the devil is from the 19 levels of hell. Suddenly, a small hand patted Lun Chenchi's waist and said in a low voice. Lun Chenchi was really shocked by his eccentric son. End of this chapter. The fake daughter can be either salty or sweet. Author, Wu Zizai. Chapter 387. Chapter 387, Conditions. When did this kid come here? Why didn't he notice it all the time? The ambassador inherited Lun Chenchi's mind-reading ability and soon knew what Lun Chenchi was thinking. I am good at invisibility. The little envoy raised his little head and looked at Lun Chenchi proudly. Lun Chenchi almost forgot that Yang Zizi was capable of invisibility, so it was not surprising that the envoy inherited Yang Zizi's ability. Then you are really awesome, Lun Chenchi praised the envoy dryly, but he looked absent-minded. Lun Chenchi then squatted down, looked at the envoy, and said, use the invisibility technique to go over and see what your mother and Mu Shinai are talking about. The envoy linked his arms, put on a little air, and said, what's the benefit? Lun Chenchi was really dumbfounded. This little guy in his family actually learned to bargain. When you grow up, you will really be good at doing business. What does the little envoy want? Lun Chenchi stroked the little envoy's cheek. On the surface, Lun Chenchi didn't seem to care about the little envoy at all, but in his heart, he still loved this unexpected son. After all, he was the child that Yang Zizi worked hard to give birth to, and his own blood was flowing in his body. The most important thing was that he was the first love child between Lun Chenchi and Yang Zizi. The little envoy tilted his little head and became thoughtful, as if he was thinking about what he wanted in a prosperous world. I want a weapon as my standard equipment, the envoy suddenly announced loudly. From now on, he will be a vampire who eliminates evil and promotes good. Without a decent weapon, how can he show his status and ability? Lun Chenchi burst out laughing. He was indeed his biological son, with ideals and revenge. He touched his son's head and said happily, if you want a weapon, you have to make it yourself and study it. This will better demonstrate your ability. He naturally hopes that his son can do everything by himself, because this way he will not be dependent when he grows up. He hopes that the little boy can become an independent boy. Although he is now an all-round genius and can do everything, in the long run, this is far from enough. Build it yourself. The little envoy was confused and touched his little head, not knowing what to do. Perhaps you will know when you grow older. Lun Chenchi looked at the little envoy lovingly. It has become common for little ones to do so. When adults don't want to answer many things, they like to use the excuse that you will know it when you grow up to avoid the problem. Since he wants to build it himself, he should build it himself. Anyway, he has a lot of time to think about it, and the envoy has already started working on it not long ago. Go quickly, Lun Chenchi pushed the envoy. If it were later, they would have finished saying the most important things, and what else would they hear? Just when the envoy was about to hide himself and eavesdrop, Mu Shinai suddenly moved his steps, turned around and left. You finished speaking so quickly, what did you say? Mu Shinai is gone, so there is no need for me to eavesdrop. If you insist on knowing what he said to mommy, you can ask mommy directly. Of course, she may not tell you, and you are even less likely to read her heart. The little angel always likes to tell the truth. Lun Chenchi glanced at the envoy and blamed him for talking so much and chattering. End of this chapter. The fake daughter can be either salty or sweet. Author, Wu Zizai. Chapter 388. Chapter 388 Ridicule. Mommy, Dad wants to know what you and Uncle Mu Shinai said. Yang Zizi came over, and when she saw the father and son, she was not too surprised, because she had already guessed that this guy Lun Chenchi was a person who could endure his temper. The little messenger ran over, threw herself into Yang Zizi's arms, hugged her thigh, and said with her head held high. Don't worry, I'm doing things properly. Mujinai has promised to persuade his father to no longer be an enemy of the angel clan. Yang Zizi believed that Mujinai could definitely do it. Jealousy began to spread. What does it smell like? The quirky little envoy sniffed everywhere without giving his father any face. It tastes so sour. The little envoy's facial expressions were a bit exaggerated. This is also a small revenge for Lunchenchi, who asked them to leave him alone in the vampire clan, but they went to the human world to live freely without taking him with them. Even though they said they had given birth to a lovely sister for him, he still held a grudge and abandoned himself to the vampire clan, which made him unable to participate in the day when Xiao Tiantian was born. You little guy. Lun Chenchi wanted to grab the envoy angrily, but he didn't expect that the kid was about to catch up with him, and he ran away as fast as lightning. You have met your opponent now, Yang Zizi said with a smile. Lun Chenchi smiled slightly, hugged Yang Zizi's waist domineeringly, and whispered in her ear, "Wife, thank you. You gave me a pair of lovely children." After saying that, he left a sweet kiss on her neck. Who said he didn't want children before, but now you are so rare? Yang Zizi teased him jokingly. Lun Chenchi hugged Yang Zizi's slender waist, ambiguously. I'm not afraid that you will be hurt. After waiting for several days, no one from the demon clan came to invade, let alone started a war. It is estimated that Mushinai has convinced his father. Yang Zizi didn't know how Mushinai persuaded his father, but she knew that this time he owed Mushinai a lot of favors. No matter what difficulties Mushinai encounters in the future, the angels and vampires will help him without hesitation. Because their current relationship is no longer that of enemies, but that of friends. Only when all ethnic groups unite as one can we create a bright future. As time passes day by day, their lives are peaceful and beautiful. It becomes even more adorable with the addition of two little guys. Time flies so fast, Xiao Tiantian can already speak. Just because I can talk, I make my uncles laugh every day. The fun of the uncles every day is to hang around their little nieces. Xiao Tiantian, come on, let uncle hug you. Yesterday, Uncle Guiyi hugged you. Today it's my turn. As soon as Guiyunyu saw Xiao Tiantian, he rushed over and wanted to hug you. She didn't expect that the little guy was faster than him and dodged away. Uncle, do you have any lollipops? I'll give you a hug if you don't. Oni Yunyu couldn't laugh or cry. This little guy in his family knew how to make a deal, exchanging his hug for a lollipop. This little clever guy. Uncles all know that besides egg tarts, Xiao Tianation's favorite food is candy, lollipops, and other sweets. And how could they not carry it with them? The uncles all took out lollipops to seduce Xiao Tiantian in exchange for a hug. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The fake daughter can be either salty or sweet. Author, Wu Zizai. Chapter 389. Chapter 389. Only children make choices. Xiao Tiantian looked at so many delicious foods and didn't know how to choose. Humph, she is no longer a child. Only children make choices. But she has grown up and doesn't want to make choices anymore, so he wants them all. You guys line up, come one by one. The little guy began to direct his uncles. The uncles also doted on him very much and followed her instructions one after another. A person only held Xiao Tiantian for a minute, and he got so many delicious foods. Uncles, please take Xiao Tiantian with you when you go to the human world in the future. Xiao Tiantian licked the lollipop in her hand, looking at the uncles pitifully, hoping to go to the human world for a visit. After all, she was born in that place, how could she not take a look? Your mommy will be angry, Guiyi said. Don't worry, if we don't tell mommy, he won't know. What about your dad? He can read minds, and we can't hide it? Don't worry, my brother can read minds and fight fire with fire, there will be no problem. Xiao Tiantian licked the lollipop as if everything was under her control. This little guy is so thoughtful at a young age. The uncles looked at each other, very embarrassed. They can meet any other request of Xiao Tiantian, but taking her to the human world seems to be relatively dangerous now. After all, no one knows whether what happened a few years ago when the little angel was attacked by a demon will happen. If it really happens, it's unclear whether he will be as lucky as the little angel. As Xiao Tiantian's uncles, the most important mission is to ensure the absolute safety of their little niece. Since the uncles don't agree, Xiao Tiantian will ignore them from now on. Xiao Tiantian was spoiled and acted like a little princess. In fact, she was just joking with her uncles. Since her uncles love her so much, how could she be willing to ignore them? Xiao Tiantian, are you making things difficult for your uncles again? Yang Zizi's voice was heard in the distance. Yang Zizi and his wife were walking towards the side with their fingers intertwined. Mom, Dad. Xiao Tiantian ran over excitedly. Lun Chenqi held Xiao Tiantian firmly in his arms and kissed her chubby little face. Why does Xiao Tiantian want to go to the human world? Yang Zizi pinched Xiao Tiantian's little face and asked with a smile. He was not angry because his daughter wanted to go to the human world. Instead, he supported her to live in the human world. After all, he was born in the human world like the little angel. Because I want to see what the place where I was born looks like, Xiao Tiantian said cutely. Okay, how about we go to the human world tomorrow and live for 100 years? Really? Xiao Tiantian's eyes almost shone. That's right, Yang Zizi responded with a smile. Sister, you are going to the human world again. How long has it been since they were going to live in the human world again? So, they won't be able to see their sister and Xiaoshan for a while. This is obviously just to make them lovesick. I'll go with you. Anyway, the house next door to you is still there. Gui Yunyu was the first to raise his hand and wanted to follow Yang Zizi and his family of 4 to live in the human world for a while. End of this chapter. The fake daughter can be either salty or sweet. Author, Wu Zizai. Chapter 390. Chapter 390. Returning to the human world again. I'll go too. Anyway, our house in the human world is big enough to live in. The other brothers raised their hands and expressed that they would go to the human world to live with Yang Zizi and the others for a while. Anyway, if they don't have their sister, they a family of 4 is in the vampire clan, and they all feel extremely bored. Gui Ziogu stood there blankly alone. If he didn't have a responsibility, he could have gone to live in the human world with them unscrupulously. However, he shouldered a heavy responsibility. Unable to leave, Yang Zizi had no objection to not letting his brothers go together. It would be better if everyone went, because he missed the good old days when so many of them lived together. Where is Uncle? Xiao Tiantian tilted her head and asked with concern. Wouldn't it be very boring if my uncle was left alone here? Ghost Xiaogu was very pleased that Xiao Tiantian still cared about him. He walked over and naturally took Xiao Tiantian from Lun Chenqi's arms. Xiao Tiantian, do you want your uncle to live in the human world with you? I think about it, of course I do. In this case, our family can be together again, but my uncle seems to be very busy these days. I'm not busy. How about I come over to you after my uncle is done with his work? Okay, uncle, hurry up. Okay, Gui Ziogu nodded. Coming to the human world, it seems that we have regained our previous living conditions. Home robots have already cleaned the house. Mommy, is this where Xiao Tiantian and her brother were born? Xiao Tiantian asked, her voice soft and cute. Yes, does Xiao Tiantian like it here? I like it. Xiao Tiantian jumped up and down happily. Finally everything is complete, and their family is finally together in the human world. There are lanterns tonight, so it's a good time to take Xiao Tiantian and the messenger to go shopping together and experience the profound culture of the human world. Above the Great Wall, with no end in sight, Countless wishes are written on countless sky lanterns, which are then lit by their owners to make wishes, hoping that every wish they make will come true. There are so many people. Are your uncles lost? Xiao Tiantian was held in Lun Zhenqi's arms, and she could see the heads of countless people, and she even started to worry about her uncles. Don't worry, uncles are already adults, Yang Zizi said with a smile. At this time, not only the uncles were lost, but also the envoy. Yang Cixi Lun Zhenqi, the young couple, were not in a hurry and were not worried at all about whether something would happen to their son. The little body of the little ambassador walked among the crowds of people, moving quickly and without a trace. Suddenly, the angel saw a girl in the crowd. Wasn't that a girl? However, if we look at it again, it turns out that it is not tens of millions, but tens of thousands of daughters, and the mature woman holding the little girl's hand is the grown-up tens of millions. Unexpectedly, Wan Wan has grown up and has been reborn several times. This must be the third life since they first met. Human time is really fast. Unlike them, they will exist in this world forever. Although it is boring, because there are people who care and love by your side, it becomes extra meaningful, and eternity will not feel very long. End of this chapter.